So, AMB is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I have seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, AMB Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found AMB.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but like I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about his animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the AMB Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
AMB is motivated by its students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with
So,
Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation live stream. All right, so I think I'm going to be building on what we did on the last live stream, actually, because it's a topic that everybody absolutely is obsessed with, and it's one that I can help a lot with, even though I've covered it many times. We're going to be talking about character construction, form and volume consistency. I'm going to be doing sharing you with some secrets of construction, and we're going to be doing a rotation of a head live, and that's what we're going to be doing. We got some people in the chat. We've got the two dual Silver Sons, Kevin Silver and Silver Scribbles. How are you, my friend? I hope you are well. I am very well indeed. Just pressing on with things, getting on with what needs to be done. I think I'm going to jump straight to it without worrying about how many people are appearing in the chat or the audience or whatever. So let's change my screen here. All right. Hopefully I'm coming loud. I think I've got two mics on at the moment. So yeah, hopefully I'm loud and clear and you can hear me well. So this is the animation we did in the last live stream, where I kind of challenged the viewers to pick a character and ask me to animate it, and we did this. You can watch it. We did it pretty much to this clean level live. I in-betweened it all offline, but I took a few images of Chief Powhatan from Pocahontas, and I went ahead and animated it. Now, to be able to take somebody else's character and animate it and maintain form and volume relatively easy might seem like a very difficult thing to do. But it actually, there's a formula, and the formula is very, very easy and, well, simple, not easy, you know. But what most people consider to be difficult is doing something that is unfamiliar to you and then repeatedly doing it over and over again and observing yourself getting it wrong. And that is what our brains consider to be, oh, this is difficult, it's not for me, I can't do it. The real secret is to stick to something and to not care, to just do the right exercises every day, and eventually the golden goose will lay the egg. I've covered this topic many times. I've covered it in vast detail in the Real Animator Training Library, in the Advanced Archive. We've covered this topic of consistency, form, and volume, and being able to put characters on model in great detail. But I'm going to do a demonstration with my own character for you today. And I'm going to talk about construction secrets and how they pretty much apply, and doesn't matter, which is why I can always ask you confidently to challenge me to animate any character on a live stream. Somebody thought they could get me, the lovely Hervonia Baker, by picking a character like Chief Powhatan from Pocahontas. I don't think she thought she could get me, but I guess I'm just setting the scene, you know. Hervonia would never think that. But it's a difficult character. It's different. But we did it. We did it live. We did it clean. We did it on stream. If you want to see that stream, it's on my channel for free for you to watch. Kevin Silver says, I've been busy continuing to try and find jobs to build up my portfolio of work. Hopeful I'll have a good body of work by the end of it. Well, good luck with that, Kevin. If that is your aim, to find jobs, I wish you the best with that. Keep on going, and if, you know, as I said, what we find hard is simply the unfamiliar, and then the witnessing unfolding of the unfamiliar, which is often painful as an observer to watch, as our concepts of ourselves and our understanding of ourselves is revealed in greater detail. And that's what most people find challenging. The actual process of doing something is always very straightforward. Right, so let's talk about character construction secrets then. Let's create a new thing. You'll enjoy this, Kevin, because I'm going to be using the Groundhopper, which I believe is probably your favorite character of mine, although you liked his earlier incarnation. I'm going to be using him to talk about it. But let's talk a little bit about simple secrets that are must go to. You must know these things. So when designing a character, we need to figure out the front and side positions first, because that is going to basically be how we get from one side, one pose to another, and the favorite, the 3/4 angle, is the intermediate. And but to do that well, we need to get the front and side correct. Hey, Frilled Mayfly, how are you? Yeah, I saw you doing your mic animation. Good for you. Good to see you having fun, particularly with your own characters, which is what I'm going to be doing today. Now, some of you know this character of mine. He's gone through many incarnations. I'm going to draw him. Now, I've designed him primarily with his ears tied back. And I tried to draw him without his ears, and his ears were looking really weird and bad. So I've been kind of playing around trying to figure out how to draw him without his ears, and that might help his design improve with his ears. So it looks like I'm just kind of drawing something like an illustration, right? It looks like I'm kind of creating this image of this character. and like an illustration, right? But there's a formula to it, and I'm going to reveal that formula, right? So he looks really cool with his ears tied. But then I thought, what would he look like without, because he's not always going to have his ears tied up, right? So what would he look like without his ears tied up was a question that I asked myself. So basically, let's just heavy in this thing. I'm going to be talking about the formula for consistency. So how you can draw your character on model from any angle. Even the challenging ones like up angle and low and high angle and low angle, really. How you can do that, and also maintain form and volume, which is something that everybody is obsessed with as well, right? So I've just drawn that as if I've kind of like just drawn it like an illustration, right? But there is a formula to it. Now I'm going to briefly go over this. I've gone over it so many times, but repetition is the way we build muscle. So if you've seen it, those of you who haven't seen it, Red Fox, how are you doing? Groundhopper is not a furry. I object to that. I've got myself a 4-year plan on getting good at animation, focusing on 100-page sections of the Animator Survival Kit this first year. Oh, Frilled Mayfly, you've already got the knowledge from much better sources than that. But good luck, good luck. Mike Animation and the Great One animations are so completely different from each other, but they're playing. That's what's going to make you great, right? It's just the process of doing. Doesn't matter where you get the info, the process of doing. You've already ascertained the info. You just got to trust yourself. Right. Now, of course, it's different for everybody. Some of you may not have the info that Frilled Mayfly has. Frilled Mayfly's been on my course. She's been on Don Bluth's course. She's been to uni, Animation Uni. So I'm pretty sure her know-how is already pretty much there. You know, it's all locked away. I think there's just some questions that she has psychologically about her abilities that need to be shoved out of the way, and she just needs to get out of her own way and just watch the magic unfold. But anyway, good luck with your plan, Frilled Mayfly. Good luck with it. I wish you the best. Dylan Draws, how are you, my friend? And we've got only she will understand that, and a few others. All right, now getting back to this, we're going to talk about the basic construction that everybody uses, right? Because it's all based on the human skull. So we have got eye sockets. I'm going to put these eye sockets. Let's talk some animation tips in there as well. I'm going to put these eye sockets one eye width apart, right? Now, we all like to draw this T shape. Why is this T shape we like to draw? You know, we like to draw that T shape because it represents the maxilla bone, right? But then we have to understand what's happening. We have to understand that there's a number of bones. We've got a frontal bone, which is the front bone here, right? Which makes up this part of the skull, right? Then we have got a bone at the side called the zygomatic bone, right? Which makes up this part of the skull, right? And some people draw a mask like this, like a superhero mask. Really, that's just the zygomatic bone, right? Coming into play. We've got other bones at the side called the parietal bones, which we won't really talk about, and the temporal bones, which we'll see at another angle. Here now, we've got something called a nasal bone, right? Nasal bone, and then we have got the nasal cavity, right? Where we've got an ethmoid and a volar bone coming in there, right? Then our maxilla bone, we've got all our teeth, right? Our 4 incisors, our cutting teeth, our canine teeth, our piercing of the flesh teeth, and on the sides 2 premolars and 3 molars, which we probably cannot see from this angle. Then we've got which comes in here, our mandibular bone, our mandible, our jawbone, right? Which comes like this. It's funny Charlene should come at the most opportune time, right? Charlene, let's hand over Castle Grayskull, right? So here we have got the jawbone, right? And the Calvira, which is the skull. Now, from the side, it would look something like this, right? We've got the eye socket, right? Which comes here. Now, the frontal bone, right? The frontal bone will come like this. Now, it'll connect to our zygomatic bone. Now, this is where a lot of people get this wrong, right? Because they do this Glen Keane thing, right? This Glen Keane thing of just drawing this. Now, Glen Keane knows, so he'll hang Ariel's pretty little face off the side like that. What is it? And then he'll square off Ariel's head and he'll say, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, right? And he'll put the Ariel in there like that, right? Maybe I've given Ariel too much of a little baby mouth there, right? But he'll do this, and then people on the internet will go, that's what Glen Keane does, so I'm going to do that, and that'll be that side of the face, and that'll be that side. But of course, if you don't understand zygomatic bone, and you just bring it like this, you're going to have a very, very flat drawing. You'll be happy with that for a little while, and then when you get better and better, and then you look at other people's work who are inspiring you, you'll think, why is my work crap? I'm doing all the right things. No, you're just stuck. You got to a certain level and you're proud of yourself in climbing the mountain, but then you're thinking, well, no, that part looks harder, so I'm not really okay. I'm happy, yeah, well, I'm not really happy, and then you'll spiral back down here again. Right, so the zygomatic comes across on the side here like this, right? And then out comes the nasal bone, right? This bone here comes out like this, right? The nasal cavity is in there, and from here we have the maxilla, right? Which comes out like this, right? Little bit out, right? Not too much, right? Then on here we have the temple bone, right? The walls of the temple, but I'm not going to get into. Frilled Mayfly loves all that esoteric talk, but I'm not going to, the temple of the human, right? Anyway, said enough. The occipital bone, right? And here we've got the parietal bone, right? Which I, in my ignorance in early training videos, because I was reading the Latin, would call it the pateral bone, right? Could still hear it in some of those videos, actually. Right, so then we've got all the teeth, right? The 2 premolars, the 3 molars, the canines, and the incisors. And then we've got the jaw, which comes in here. I'm deliberately giving him this Skeletor grin, like, Charlene, right there like that. So we've got something like that. So that's how we get the shape of the face, right? So before I go on to this fellow here and I do a 360 of his head, right? For demo purposes, to show you about construction consistencies. Everything is this, right? So, now we animators, we love to draw with spheres and circles and things like that. So, what we do is let me take another character of mine. I probably have forgotten him a little bit, but he's humanoid, right? And I'll put in, I'll do his front features, right? So, he's got eye hair and eye hair, right? And then his eyebrows will be what the eye sockets are, right? So his eyebrows will be what the eye sockets are. That'll leave the area for the nose, right? So his nose I'm putting near to the bottom of the spear like this, right? So now I'm going to put in the zygomatic mask, which I explained to you about. Now that zygomatic mask gives me his where roundabout where his mouth, his lip is going to be, right? And then it's got his bottom lip. And then I'll do a little triangle there like that, which will be the mental, it's called the mental, the mentalis, the muscle on the chin, right? where the jawbone goes, right? Then I'm gonna imagine around about his mouth width is where we're gonna kind of lean that jaw in, like that, coming from the side of the zygomatic, right? Now this is where we get the magic of anatomy in our face. Even if we're doing kind of like a cartoon face, I can kind of elongate it to get him more to the model that I want. Now I'm going to kind of float the ears on the side like that. And the ears are going to be, like, generally they want the ears at the bottom of the nose, but I like mine to be a little bit smaller. So I'll make mine a little bit smaller. He's a masculine guy, but we're going to, yeah, let's make them a little bit bigger. I did say I haven't drawn this character for a year, actually, so, or more, right? So his eyebrows are going to sit on the eye socket. Now we got the nasal. So his nasal bone is going to be about here. I didn't talk about nasal, right? Let's just talk about the nasal bone, right? The nasal bone comes down from there like that, right? And then you got the nasal cavity, and then that's the teeth, right? So all of this is all cartilage. Now, depending on the bone, now he's got a nose shape like this, right? He's got a Roman nose. Some people will have a straight nose, like that, right? But anyway, so what happens is that off the bone comes cartilage, right? With the nasal septum in the middle, and then you have something called the alar cartilage at the side, right? And then the cartilage along here like that, right? And that's what forms the nose. Now, as in a drawing thing, not to be like life drawing or anything, because we're talking characters at the moment, we're just going to treat it like a shape, right? So we can put a little shape on there and a nostril and put that in line with that, or we can, if we're doing a feminine nose, we can just kind of do something like that, right? But this is always the bottom of the nose, right? And that's where now I'm not a fan of what Glen Keane started to do when he switched to CG and he started to draw this on his 2D characters that had this kind of nice flat hand-drawn Picasso style interpretation of a nose, right? He started to include the bone and have that, because obviously it's a taste thing. I love Glen Keane, inspired me a lot, but I'm not into that whole let's design, make 2D look more 3D for the tangled look, because it's still, I mean, that character, how big were her eyes, like, you know? But anyway, so not my thing, but he did it to get more anatomy, and of course he wants to grow and change, and he's every right to. It's just not to my taste. So we're gonna kind of put that nose in the middle there, and I'm gonna kind of draw a nose like this, right? And we're gonna put his eyes in there like that. He's got a higher lip hair like this. We're gonna put his eyelids in there like that, right? So here I've got a pretty, like, all of these construction lines can be eliminated, but I've got the angle of his face, right? All of the angles and things are proportioned, and his hair is gonna come off the sides, right? Like something like this. All right. I'm not going to talk about hair at the moment because that's going a little bit too far, right? But the hair also makes the character design appealing, right? So we've got his hair, right? Now again, if we're going to do it from the side, right, and keeping in with the whole human things, we need to remember, like, that he's got the eye socket. Now the eye socket will help. This is where people get it wrong. They want to jump straight into the eye. The eye sits in the eye socket. So the eye socket will help get that eye shape pretty good from the side, right? You put it in the middle, you bring it down. If the character's got an eye shape like this, which a lot of my characters have, feminine characters, because, like, it's kind of shaped like my wife's eyes, right? Then even when you're going to face it from the side, you will lower it slightly, but you'll kind of do something like that. So it'll still be higher, but you'll cheat it and bring it lower and put a bit of the eyelid in there like that, right? So now here's the important thing, right? The cheek, right? This is what'll give your work a lot of excellent anatomy, right? Even cartoon anatomy wise, right? So we're going to get the zygomatic bone in here like this, right? Zygomatic bone, right? Then we're going to think about the nose, right? Which comes off like that, right? And then the mouth, just like I said, like his mouth is going to come in and out. We'll have the lip shapes, right? So I'll kind of bring him in line with the eye there like this. Now the jaw comes in line off there like that, right? Now, some people like to do it, bring it in, right? Rather than straight, right? So we're going to bring it in, right? Because for me, that gives a little bit more appeal. We're doing it for illustration purposes, right? There's a lot of people moaning online that this doesn't, this isn't accurate, and it's not the way to do it. We need to embrace other, like, if that's your agenda, good for you. I wish you the best, but I'm personally interested in making a design that I feel good about and happy about, and I'm not going to let anybody dictate to me how to draw. These are drawings that I do to express my art for myself. If people don't like it, they won't engage in it, and that's something that I'll have to face. But I'm not going to let anybody dictate to me through trying to guilt trip me as what's the right way to draw, what's the wrong way to draw, right? So now here's what we do. Just with this magic line down here, right? We give ourselves some little bit of cheek, right? And we can do it on this side. In fact, that's what's missing from his design. He has got these defined cheekbones in there like that, right? So that's where that comes from, right? And then we can throw in the hairstyle, right? So that's a very quick example, right, of the skull taken into effect. Now, one of the things that happens when you learn this information, and I've seen it happen a lot and I'm going to show it right now because I think it's important. There are people who study from Real Animator Training, and this is a really in-depth video about this type of construction. But one of the problems people have is transitioning out from the learning zone. So no matter how good this information is, so let me just go into the Real Animator dashboard, and let's go straight to that archive. So in the advanced archive, I have got a series of 5 videos, 360 degrees head rotation, right? Now here I take you through videos showing you the secrets of this construction in a very kind of like mechanical, almost, let's just skip ahead in one of these videos. In a mechanical, almost machine-like way, so that here we are, let's skip to here. So that when you build your character, you're literally going to be doing a perfect 360 degrees rotation of this construction-like feature. So let's move it along here. Here we are. There we go. So you'll be doing something like this, right? You can see how the rotation works, right? And then eventually what happens is you trace over, you learn how to put this head on top of it, right? Now this head is a model that you learn how to adapt this model through these other videos. But this model, if you look, however nice it is, and we'll play the intro into one of these things. however nice this model is, it still has got, let me put the noise down, it still has got a very, let's take it back a bit. It still has got a very kind of like, mechanical look to it, right? Overly constructed. It's very perfectly animated. It's very perfectly, but that's, you go through that process to learn how to maintain form and volume, construction as basic shapes and things like that, right? What I'm doing for you at the moment is a demo, right? I'm doing kind of like condensing all of that information in a demo for you, using characters that are very illustrative, like the way you would draw if you were seasoned and experienced animation pro. So one thing that happens is you would then start to transition from your drawings. So as you see me animate this Chief Powhatan character, right, which we did on the stream, like this, right? There's all of those construction things are there, but they're not, I'm not really relying on them in the way that I demoed to you, right? I'm not kind of showing you, oh, now I've got to draw his mask, and now I've got to draw his. So there is a time when all of this stuff, you will be doing it, because you're training your brain to understand these things, right? You're training your brain to understand this form from all these angles. And then you want to understand the form of another shape and another shape, till eventually you'll get to a subconscious level where you'll literally be mixing. So I will be doing an image of my character, right, which is more like an illustration. And that's when the animation drawing starts to have more appeal, right? Because it's less in the learning zone, right? It's less about your drawings being in the learning zone and more about your drawings taking shape and starting to tell stories, right? It's more about that kind of stuff. So all of this stuff that I'm putting in this drawing, all of that stuff that I explained to you exists in this drawing, right? But I'm not relying heavily on it. I'm not trying to say, am I doing the perspective of the eye? Is this, I don't care, right? I'm not too caught up in that. I'm getting more illustrative. I got nothing to prove now. I'm getting more illustrative with my work, and I'm looking for an emotion, right? I'm looking for an emotion in my drawing, right? I'm looking for something in my drawing that'll convey something, and I'll start adding to it, right? So that's how you start to move away from that overly constructed approach. But that overly constructed approach that you do in the training library is essential, particularly if you're inexperienced at animation and inexperienced at character design and model. It's essential for you to be able to transition on to start doing these more intuitive style approaches. Right, so I'm going to read the comments, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do a rotation of this guy's head. And as I said, what I'm doing is I'm so used to drawing him like this that I tried to draw him without his ears, and it wasn't looking nice, and I needed to find a design that I liked of him without his ears. So let me talk to you briefly about this guy's construction, right? So when designing him, I start with the same sphere shape, and I say, okay, I want to have him one eye width apart, and I want him to be more like a man, more like 70% man and 30% hair, right? So I'm gonna put like, I'm gonna do the same T-junction, but I'm gonna give his, because he's got a hair-like nose, I'm gonna put that nose almost at the bottom of the sphere, right? Not quite, right? And then I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna put his mouth here, right? Where I'm gonna put his mouth roundabout here, right? So that's gonna sit in there. That's literally what is. It's exactly the same, right? It could be a human nose, but here we're gonna call it an animal nose just by doing that, right? Now, his zygomatic's gonna come to the side like this, right? But I'm gonna give him some cheeks, right? Lower cheeks, which are gonna come in line with the nose hair like this, right? And then I'm gonna bring them to the bottom of the mouth, right? I'm gonna join them to the bottom of the mouth like that. That's gonna give him some kind of shape, right? Like that. I'm gonna reevaluate the shape of his head in relation to that. Now I'm gonna think about his neck. How thick is his neck gonna be? Attaching the neck to the character is very important, right? So I'm gonna think, now he's quite although he's a hare and he's quite slender, he's quite muscular and athletic for his breed, right? So, but I don't want him to be too thick in the neck, right? Now on the bottom of the mouth, we're gonna have his hair-like cheeks coming out of the side, right? Like that. So this part of the drawing, I'm gonna start to heavy in, right? So let's start to put in some eyes, right? Let's put in a bit of eyelash. Let's give him some eyebrow shape. Now, because he's quite a serious type, I'm going to put the peak of his eyebrow there, right? To give him that neutral expression. And I'm going to put a little bit of an under eyelid to show maturity on him, right? Now, here is his nose. I'm just going to kind of like put a few kind of strands of hair on there to give him that feel of a nose, and I'm gonna bring that down and give him that hair-like mouth, right? So we're taking the human head. Now, Frilled Mayfly, who's animating one of my characters at the moment, very geniusly observed as she worked it out for herself that it was just basically a man's face, right? Hidden underneath the tiger mask, right? So now here we're gonna bring this and we're gonna kind of round this off, right? Like that. And we're gonna have a bit of the chin hair, and we're not gonna draw all of it. We're gonna employ a bit of anime in there and let the shadow do the talking, right? So in line we're gonna leave that out like that, right? We're not gonna go like that, right? Because in reality this is his chin, right? Then we're gonna have some stray hairs on the side like that. I'll be doing this drawing again. I'm just giving you a demo of his construction and I can refer to them. Now in here is where we're gonna do a few scraggly bits of fur to give him the feeling of fur, right? So this gives him his neck. Right now we want to figure out his head, because previously he always had this bandana on and it looked really cool. I'll do it like that. And his ears were tied and I said, what a cool design. But I thought to myself, well, what is he actually going to look like without the bandana, right? So first things, he's got this clump of hair like this, right? Now, I looked at a real hare and it almost looks like they've got horns on their head, which they don't, but where the ears come out the side, and the ears are kind of like this shape, right? I want to think about them coming from the side like this, right? Now, I've got to find a way, right, to make these ears appealing so that they sit, they don't look like they're just on top of the guy's head, right? So I'm going to start thinking about, well, maybe there's going to be a tuft of hair along here like this. And then we got to think about how they're going to be on the sides, right? So I will maybe bring them in a bit and bring them in on the sides like that, right? So I will then think about, well, what about the hairstyle along the sides, right? And then what I will do is I will then try to do the side pose, right, of him. And then the side pose will help me rework this pose, right? So I'll say, well, he's got a tuft of hair along here. Now you see I'm not really relying on construction, right? Because one of the problems with designing like this, right, is, as I've been explaining to you, construction, appeal, right, which is the most important thing for character design, is gone a little bit out the window. Because I've been thinking about symmetry of face, this is here, this is there. So, if I want to start thinking about appeal, I have to start thinking, before we start building the construction and all that, I have to start playing, right? I have to go back to kind of like as if I've got no knowledge at all, right? And I have to start thinking about, well, that'll be cool if he has a hairstyle like this, right? And then I'll start imagining him in scenarios, right? So what I'm doing is what I mentioned to you before. Nothing in life is hard, right? Except for a surface or a table or something like that, or a brick or a texture. Nothing in life is hard. What it is it's unfamiliar, right? And I thought I had something good. And now, as I've tried to explore, I've realized it's perhaps not as good as I thought it was. And this feels uncomfortable, but I'm not going to define it as hard. And I'm not going to define it as difficult. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a process, right? And I'm going to accept that all of the previous conceptions are not wasted. They are part of this process, right? So that's the way that you're going to move forward with your work in a healthy way, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a turnaround of this guy. But before I do that, I'm going to have a look at the comments and see what you guys are saying. So who else we got? That was Frilled Mayfry's comments. I'll try and get familiar with the unfamiliar. Excellent, exactly. The new designer has grown on me as my favorite character of yours. Fantastic. Frontal, zygomatic, mandible, maxilla, and nasal. You got it. Actually, what I would... Okay, who's game to get better right now? All right? Here's who... Answer me in the chat. Answer me in the chat, right? You don't have to be a member of my library. You don't have to have given me any money or anything. This is free for you, right? Answer me in the chat. Would you like to be better at drawing faces and at drawing, or in general, drawing the human head and the human faces? Would you like to do that? Answer me in the chat. Hey Grayson, is that something that you would like to do? Because it's very real, it's very possible, and it's very easy. And you won't believe how easy it is, that you'll think it's magic. All right? You'll think it's magic. I'll show it to you. It's the same option, right? I'm going to do something for you right now. Okay? I'm going to do something for you right now. I was muted, but you saw that, right? You saw that. 1 week ago, 1 week, 7 days ago, I could not do that. All right? All it took was 7 days. Right? I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but 7 days ago, I could not do that. All it took was 7 days. 7 days ago, some of you might think that you can't draw the head very well. And you keep looking for information. You keep going everywhere. You keep doing all these kind of things to get better. But I'm telling you, you are ready and you can do it. And if you just are willing to put your trust in me right now, because you're not paying for anything. It's not like you're joining my library or you're giving me any money, but you are going to give me 7 days. And it's going to take you about 10 minutes every day. That's all that took. Less than 10 minutes. I would do it once every day for 7 days, but I would put one leg in the air and then the other leg in the air and all that, right? So here's what we're going to do. All right. Now I think I got a double mic, so let me kill the double mic. Here's what we're going to do. So if this is a life-changing moment for some of you right now, and I'm going to share with you because it's what you do in Real Animator training all the time. Every day, I want you to do this, and I don't want you to look at any reference. You may make the drawing from my video once, right? But make it in a sketchpad or somewhere where you can look at it, and for your own drawing, you look at your own drawing, not mine, not anyone else's, your own drawing. The drawing that you may have made from mine, but then that's it. You don't go to the internet. You don't go and listen to anybody else. You refer to your own drawing, right? So, all I want you to do is this, in this order, right? And it doesn't have to be nice. It doesn't have to look good. I want you to do this. Frontal, and then write it. Then I want you to do this. Zygomatic. Write it. Then I want you to do this. Maxilla. Write it down, right? And I want you to do this. Color it in if you have to. Nasal. Then I want you to do this. And just do that. You don't have to do all the teeth like I showed you. Mandible. Right? Then you can draw around the sides. Right? That's part one. Right? Every day. It doesn't have to even look like a skull. Every day for 7 days. You draw that. Quick programming. The next thing you do after doing that, you draw this. Right? You do a little thing sticking out there like this. You can put another thing in the side. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't have to be like a real skull. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be anything. Right? Now we're going to do a little kind of like shape like this. Right? And these are by no means the proper bone shapes, right? We're going to write frontal. Right? We're going to draw a line on the side like this. We're going to write zygomatic. Now we're going to come out here like this. Right? You see I've gone on top of it a little bit. Doesn't matter if you're too low or too high. We're not trying to draw it right, right? You're doing something much more powerful than trying to draw it right. Right? Now you're going to do nasal. And you're going to come down here. Right? You can make it smile if you want to. Maxilla. You can do a little hole in there if you want. You don't have to, right? Come down here, you put mandible. Right? You have consolidated everything from the side. Right? But we got a little bit more to do. We're going to draw a circle here, right? Just a circle inside there. Right? We're going to call that the temple. Or the temple arc, temple arc, doesn't matter. Right? Then we're going to draw this thing on the top, but halfway there like that. We're going to call that the parietal. Parietal. I don't even know how to spell it anymore, right? But it's called parietal, right? I used to call it pateral, right? Now we're going to put a dink there like that, right? We can just make it like a triangle. We don't even have to, we can make it straight. We can make it like a triangle. It's straight, but I like to do that because that's the way the neck muscles work, right? But, so we're going to go occipital or occipital. I don't even remember how to spell it or how to write it. You know what? Don't Google it, because you'll correct yourself later. Because this is the foundation. So you're going to make these drawings along with me in a sketchbook, physical, not digital, preferably. And I want you, I'm giving you like, this is possibly, I will call this $1 million advice. Not because it's worth $1 million that you will pay me. I believe it is. But it's life-changing if you do this one thing, right? Not you just watch this video and you do it once. 7 days, every day, at a certain time, you draw these out. You write these things for 7 days. Before you look at anything else to do with the head, before you look at anything else to do with the skull, and then just watch, because you have something in your brain in here called your reticular activating system, or amygdala. And what you have done is you have programmed your unconscious mind so that every time you look at a human face, every time you look at anything, you will see all of that. You won't be able to unsee it. So it's really up to you. Now I'm going to spend the rest of this video drawing an amazing looking cartoon character, making it look perfect from all angles and rotating it, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to motivate and inspire a lot of people. But this part of the video is the life-changing part for those of you who want it. I've done my bit. It's up to you. It's your choice. You're going to do that every day for 7 days? Or you're just going to... No 3/4 view. We're not going to do that. That's not the purpose of this video. It's not the purpose. The purpose is not for you to be able to draw it right. Before you can draw something right, you have to understand what it is. And the 3/4 view sits between, which we're going to do with this video with the character, the front and the side. Whenever you look at Don Bluth character design sketches, when he's working out a character, he always does the front and the side. And the reason for that is because the 3/4 is simple in between. It's a view that we all love because it shows the contours and it's not flat, but it's a simple in between. The back view we're not going to focus on for now. You see, this is the thing. Everybody thinks, oh, I've got that knowledge consciously. Now I want to move forward and I'm going to do it from the back. I can handstand or headstand, but my form's not the best and it's not ready to be good form yet. I've still got to play around with where I am, right? I only did that for 7 days. I've still got to play around and get comfortable before I can do other things with it, right? So the fact of the matter is, you've got to accept where you are right now and get pride out of the way. And you've got to be able to just allow the process to happen. Should we have a separate journal for this? You could make one. But bear in mind, I've only just showed you one thing to do it. But maybe I've opened the rabbit hole for some of you. You know, the secret code into how to talk to your subconscious about things that you really want to know, right? Not related to drawing, me and my older brother wrestle. He uses a technique called the nasal wrench, where he grabs my nose to twist. Oh, I'm sorry if I laugh. That must be quite painful. Actually, that's a real thing. All right, you put your nose up, because I've got martial arts background. You put your hands up somebody's nose and you wrench it when you got them in a headlock. But I don't want my stream to be flagged for perhaps the wrong reasons. You know, that wasn't really. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, right? All right, so we were looking at the chat, but then I got all inspired in helping you. I believe I've given you some really good information, life-changing information. It's up to you if you want to execute that. Cameron Alan Davidson Black is online. Yes, that is Alpha Man. Meditated for 31 minutes. Used to meditate more, but it's getting back into it. 31 minutes is fine. It's, you know, side profile, especially the lips, are difficult for me to draw. Or, you know, again, if you understand, you know, the whole Picasso thing, So you have the mouth, right? The mouth can be a straight line. You put a little dink in the middle, right? And you understand that the bottom lip sits. So this is all the construction thing. So the bottom lip sits on there, right? And then you can have the top lip come round the side. So from the side, it's the same thing, right? You've got your line, right? But then you have to understand that the contouring, right, is going to be something like this, right? And then you're going to dink it in the middle there, right? Like that. So again, I'm showing you things that are formula, right? But this formula is all based, you know, it's always better to have a slight angle in your drawing. Again, Picasso, you see the cubism, the cubist element helps us reevaluate. Now the zygomatic bone comes, right? So you see the zygomatic, how it improves everything. Right. Douglas Pendleton, I remember you. How are you? Groundhopper, yes, I'm slowly. He has not gone away. He will surface. Recently, I learned the guy who designed Betty Boop was also the guy who designed the animation of Grim Natwick. Amazing. I have a clay statue of a couple of my characters I did, so I can do the 360 reference. Awesome. That'll help you exaggerate and interpret things rather than stick to construction. Good to have you back, Jimbo. Good afternoon, everyone. Do you have animation books of your own similar to Richard Williams, and how does your animation style differ from that book compared to modern animation? Modern animation, I don't want to talk about. Modern animation is AI, and modern animation before AI was still naive, searching in the dark and relying a lot on computers for help. So my animation is different to Richard Williams because it's not a book. I have a library of videos. The link is in the chat. I'll talk about it a little bit later in the stream. I believe that visual learning through videos is far superior to any book. Nobody can learn how to maintain form and volume by reading a book. Simple as. So it's popular. Richard Williams, I have a lot of respect for, but, you know, just like all news and media trends, he gets a reputation of being the best animator in the world. Go and look at his work, really look and ask your inner voice, do you agree with that statement? Honestly, go and look at Raggedy Ann and Andy. Go and look at all of his other work and ask yourself, honestly, this man is considered the authority. His book is in everywhere. Everybody's learned from it. I read it myself. When I'm not saying I have, but from your perspective, maybe some of you have, but I haven't improved. So am I going to listen to the wind, or am I going to listen to my inner voice? Some of you absolutely will think yes, and great, but some of you perhaps not. So I have something very different to offer from Richard Williams that some people think is superior to Richard Williams. Other people don't. Some people don't. Some people think Richard Williams has saved their lives, and amazing. I'm so happy that they feel that way and that they can do their work. So I can't speak for Richard Williams. I can only speak for what your gut tells you when you look at his work, my work, or anybody else's work that's offering you some knowledge, and when you've explored it and tried it. I don't have any books available. I'm not planning to release any books. If I do release books, they'll be more based on my own artwork as an artist. I believe I have put the most complete learning system out there, the learning system, the most realist learning system, the most powerful learning system out there. I may be still adding to it because there's never more, but I will do that through the best medium possible, which is video. Follow along step-by-step video instruction. So that's how I differ. Thank you for the question. And as far as modern animation is concerned, modern animation is very weak because it's hand-drawn, because it relies a lot on the software on the computer. So the traditional hand-drawn animation techniques are, you know, a lot harder to do. AI cannot replicate them. And maybe when it does, it will still be challenged to replicate them. I've been seeing a lot of Earthworm Jim animations on Twitter or X, and I'm laughing at them because the people think they're pro AI and they're thinking, look, you know, this cost me nothing, but there's no squash and stretch, there's no overlap. The old pixelated hand-drawn Earthworm Jim destroys all their fully rendered. But of course, the average Joe likes to look at dressed up, finished looking shiny artwork, and they don't understand the movement and the actual things that are going on, and it's very, very limited and stiff in the AI. But but a lot of people don't want the flowing, expressive, advanced traditional movement. So maybe for them the modern animation is superior, but for me it's vastly inferior. So my work differs from modern animation because it is vastly superior to modern animation. We are looking for effort, not perfect. Excellent, Zedpo. How are you? Pretty Pancakes. I do like that name. I think I might draw a Gracie Goodbear holding some pretty pancakes. Take from that what you will. I had a similar revelation yesterday. I love my old animation, but at the time felt like I have to do better while working on Mike. Yeah, that's it. The great unfolding is happening, Phil Mayfly. Keep meditating, keep being in a peaceful state and accepting state, and enjoy the growth. I might do the 50 portrait thumbnail challenge when I've got time. Okay, there we are. Jimbo, you used to be fit. No reason you can't still be. If someone else can do it, no reason you can't. Absolutely. I want to draw and animate better in general. Zedpo, you have the training library. You basically have been going through those processes, but you've not been identifying with the process so much as like, I'm learning this to get better. You're looking at the process as in like, has it worked, and then you're looking for the errors as opposed to the routine. If I have always tried to headstand, but for some reason never been able to balance, because I would just try to think it was all my strength in my core, and I've got a really strong core. I can L sit, I can V sit, I can do all these things, but why can't I headstand? I can't hold my core. And I for literally for like, you know, I'm almost 50 now, so for almost 30 years I didn't try a proper headstand, merely because I deluded myself into thinking that, oh well, you know. And then in 7 days, just because I accepted the fact that I was crap at it, and I allowed the process to lead me. And you need to allow yourself to be led by yourself. Okay, when you're watching my videos, I'm leading you, but I'm leading the inner you to lead the outer you, right? That's a little bit philosophical, but that's all I can do. When I speak to each and every one of you, I'm not speaking to the conscious you. I'm doing my best to try and speak to the unconscious you, so the unconscious you wakes up and starts leading the outer you. So that's where the real growth will happen. The real growth will not happen through staying with me all the time. When people have finished with Real Animator Training Library and moved on, they've been doing amazing things, and I'm so happy for them, because they are trusting themselves. They're trusting themselves now. Okay, that's the nose thing. I have a black book. I scribble in it. Been doing some pastel art. Yeah, I've been doing gouache lately. What's this? Don't tell him about the terror of purple nurple. What is that? Why was Picasso considered great? I consider him great too. There's a great video out on YouTube that talks about Picasso's father and shows how amazing a portrait painter he was. Like, everybody could paint at a skillful level, but Picasso branded himself. And also Picasso asked questions. And because he asked those questions, we have really good hand-drawn animation. Okay? Because everything you see is a 2D image, right? You're going to be seeing it in a minute, right? This is a side view, right? This is a side view, right? Now I'm going to put the eye here, and I'm going to put a mark here, right? And I'm going to just do something like this. And now it's a 3/4 view, right? Now I'm going to put another eye here, right? And I'm going to put another nose mark on the side like this, right? And we have got the zygomatic on each side, right? And now it is a front view. That's why, to me, Picasso is great. Would I hang his work on my wall? No. But he's given me so much more than a pretty picture to hang on my wall and to be inspired by. He's helped me understand how to animate and draw anything from any angle, because it's all an illusion. My hero, Milk Cow, loved Picasso. And I used to say in my ignorance, Milk Cow's a better artist than Picasso. Well, when I matured a bit, I began to look and ask, why does Milk Cow, why do all these great artists love Picasso so much? I don't see it. Because I was a juvenile rebelling against my art teachers who told me cartoons were crap and I need to look at the masters. Partly they were right. Partly they were right. Not saying they were all right, but partly they were right. And after I grew up a bit, I never even used to like admitting that I grew up. Right? After I grew up a bit, I looked at Picasso and I said to myself, my God, Picasso is great. Cosgrove Hall Studio got turned into a museum. Yes, I agree with you on that one, Jimbo. That made me happy. I love William's prologue. The reason I'm going through the book is because he learned the best of the best. There must be something here beyond the basics. Awesome. Richard Williams does have a DVD based off a book. Well, look, if you like his work, then that's great, Frilled Mayfly. I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of the best films ever made. Is it to work on 8 frames a second? Wrong. No, if that's how you want to work and that you like the look of it, who says it's wrong? You know, I think you need to just explore how to time so you're not limiting yourself to just 8 frames. But if that's your thing and you want to express things at 8 frames a second and keep things moving, but you'll find that that's a very kind of metatonic way of doing things. You need to get into a more rhythmic way. Going back to Soviet montage editing, you need to vary the time. That's how you create an illusion of weight. I studied 3D animation for a while. I always felt very limited in that type of animation, perhaps because I've always drawn by hand. Absolutely. And the computer will work out a lot of things for you, which you can't, which especially if you don't know how to draw, you're limited, you're stuck. So a lot of people are not looking at the elephant in the room. AI isn't doing anything to anybody. AI is just making a bunch of people who are insecure about their skills very afraid, because they have been doing their computer generated animation feeling very special, while hand-drawn animators have been swept under the carpet, and they've been thinking, yes, where are the bee's knees, where's the shit? Well, now the computer, which you've been relying on so heavily to do what you couldn't do, what hand-drawn animators were doing all the time, is now gone one better. It's doing things without you, and you're feeling very, very weak and very, very afraid, and you're crying, and you want the rest of the world to cry with you. While I might cry with you in empathy, I do not sympathize, because it is an opportunity for you to pick up a pencil and learn real hand-drawn animation. So be grateful for AI is what I say. So now we're going to get on to this. We're going to now start to do a 360-degree turn of our groundhopper character, right? So I'm going to begin similar to the way I did previously, but I'm going to think about a good width of those ears, right? Going to think about a good ratio. A good silhouette, right? So I'm not thinking about construction or anything at the moment. I'm thinking about his silhouette, right? What's an appealing silhouette? And then I will start to fit the character into it, right? I'll start to fit my character into it, right? That's looking pretty good to me. That's like maybe this ear could now be a little bit more on this side. So the front view is much more important than the 3/4 view, right? Because if I can't get my character to look good from the front, right? Then it's not gonna really work in the 3/4 view. It's not gonna happen, right? Because while you might think illustration-wise it'll look good, you'll never really be animating it and then drawing it from the front. The front is a very important intermediary position, right? So I gave you all that little demonstration before, right? About stuff construction, and you're watching me draw, it seems, without construction. And this is how I draw all the time now, right? Some of you who've been following me on my journey would see that I would rely on construction a lot, right? But this is how I draw all the time now. Because I search for appeal more than I do for being correct, right? I'm now over trying to prove to myself, my outer self, that I'm correct, I'm good. I'm totally confident in that area now. So what I'm looking for is appeal, right? And all of that stuff, that construction stuff, I'm letting my unconscious do it, right? I can put it in inverse and I can see that I've got it slightly off balance, right? But I'm not going to let that affect me, because I'm liking this rough drawing of the front of my character. Now I want to work out a good hairstyle, right? I want to work out a good hairstyle before I start committing to anything, right? Maybe his hair can come up the patch of the side here like this, right? So it's like parting over to one side. That's good, right? So we've got like his hair parting over to one side. And I've deliberately put this hair because one of the greatest influences in my life was the late, great Bruce Lee. And the way I would sum up Bruce Lee is a big head of hair like this and this, right? With his sideburns, right? Right? So, what I want to put in my Groundhopper character is a little nod and wink to that. Now, I'm not going to give him like to one side, but I'm just going to put something like that in the middle, right? Just to give him that slight bit of the master in his, in him. It's like there, like that, right? So, here, I'm going to think about the curve and straight shape, right? We're going to then curve that there along there like that. So I'm really just searching. So I'm using different strokes at the moment because while I can draw this character from a 3/4 or anything wearing his bandana, you notice I'm not searching, right? So don't allow these online things saying don't use searching lines, right? I'm searching, very much searching. I'm searching for a appealing design. So here I already have the appealing design, so I'm not searching, right? So I don't need searching lines, right? I've got the bandana on his head, which is gonna hide the questions that I need to ask about making these ears work, right? So I'm not using searching lines to do this, right? I know like what his top looks like, what his shoulders look like. I don't need to search for that, right? It's all there. But when you're doing this type of design drawing, this is one of the problems with information online. You have all these bros and all these, I like to use the word bros because, you know, it's a little derogatory in the term I'm using it. Saying don't draw with chicken scratch, don't search. Well, what function are you drawing for? I'm not copying from a reference. I'm trying to find something from deep within me, right? So I am searching. So I'm going to use searching lines, right? While I'm doing that. So it's just so illogical when you actually really think about some of the online information that you hear. So again, a lot of it's intimidation. These people haven't really grown to a valid point and they want to dish out advice. Maybe they think that they have grown, but the advice that they're dishing out is delusional. Misinformed delusion, right? Every way of doing something has a purpose, right? It has a purpose. Okay, I'm kind of liking that. So I'm going to do a turn of this, right? So now I'm going to do some consolidation. I'm going to do some construction consolidation here, right? Let's make it a little bit fainter, right? So let's bring out the black. So I'm going to draw the parts of him that I feel confident drawing a little bit neater. All right. So we're going to put his eyebrows there like that. We could draw the center line, but I'm not going to bother, right? I'm going to allow my intuition. As I said, right, this is very much a demo. I've shown you the things that I've gone through and the things that I take you through in real animator training to be able to get to this intuitive stage, right? And just like the headstand, it's going to come to you faster and better if you surrender to it and do it every day, like the same thing, right? Do the same thing every day. I'm gonna neck hair. Now I'm just gonna check. So I see this hair on this eye is a little bit off on this side here. Again, see the clean drawing starts to become a bit rougher, but I got the center line correct, right? Which is good. Now I want to see the width of his head on either side. I'm going to draw it in inverse over the rough. Okay, so here's where we've got the ears that are kind of going off to one side a little bit. So I've got to think about that. Now, I'm going to work out this hairstyle before I do the ears, right? I'm going to work out the shape of the hairstyle a little bit before I do the ears. Now I'm kind of happy with that. I'm going to take it to the other side to get it more designery right, because his hair leans to one side. So this ear is kind of like in the right place. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Some hairs have got absolutely massive ears. Bring that up like that. All right, so I'm just doing this rough because it's more from the other side. So let's turn that. Right, so we've turned it back to this side. So now I'm going to have a better go at the hairstyle, right? So I'm going to bring this out, this one in like that, this in here like this. Perhaps that's a little bit too much, right? That's a little bit too much. It's a process of elimination. Now, I want to get this ear shape more like this. Now we may want to start putting a little bit of hair around the insides of the ear as well, right? So right now I'm gonna take this up to this point, but I'm not gonna clean it up any further because the side view is gonna help me improve the front view, right? So let's just heavy all this. This makes him a little bit even more hair-like if he has whiskers, right? Missing all that. Right. So that's pretty much what I've got for the front view. Now we're going to move on to the side view. Yes, absolutely, Grayson. Also, don't claim you made it if it's by AI, because that is plagiarism. Again, the whole plagiarism thing. Some of the best artists online are, this is all opinion, right? I don't want you to feel wrong that I'm saying you're wrong or you're right. It's all thought and it's all opinion. Some of the best artists who are the biggest thing on Instagram right now got to be that big through doing fan art. What it all is about, from my perspective, is fear. Fear and insecurity in one's own abilities, and then people tend to put a straw man up, or a red herring that other people want to attack, to nurse their subconscious fear about this thing that is changing their worldview, their perception, their self-validation. So this thing comes up, and it's everybody's talking about plagiarism. Music has been plagiarized since the beginning of time. Artwork, has been referred to. Many people know the Disney versions of the fairy tales instead of the originals. Many people haven't even read the Jungle Book, but they know Mowgli. It's all interpreted, reimagined is the word people like to use. And because it doesn't fit into a certain view and people's comfort zone about their personal insecurities, they want somebody to blame, and they're going to find an argument that they can convince themselves to kind of justify it. If AI can do what I do, so what? Does it mean I'm not going to do it? I'm not threatened by it. If people like my drawings and they're willing to exchange money for my drawings, they like the end result. They don't give a damn about the process, about my skill, about my ability. When I was younger, it took me a long time to understand that, because I had the same hang-ups. I would be really angry about a YouTuber called Jazza. Okay? I love Jazza. Jazza has every right to serve his family, to serve the people who love him, and to provide value and happiness in people's life. But confused, angry, bitter me, back in the day when I was coming on YouTube, would say, how is this guy getting all the love? He can't draw and animate even professionally. He doesn't know how to do it. Well, it's all wrong. Why do people like him? Why, boo-hoo, cry, cry, cry. I've had this much time in the industry. I know better. I've worked as a head of story. This guy's just on YouTube showing all these wrong things and everybody's liking him. Oh, that's my problem, not his problem. He doesn't have a problem. He's living life to the fullest of his ability, which he absolutely deserves to do. And he's crushing it. He's succeeding. More power to him. Well done. You know what? I love getting older, and I love being mature, and I love going through certain things, and hindsight, learning the lessons of life. Because when I was a hand-drawn animator, CGI came on the scene, and nobody gave a shit about us. And there was so much hurt, so much pain. People committed suicide. People did all kinds of things in the industry. But back then, social media didn't have any black squares or no CG with a cross going through it, support for hand-drawn animators. But who cares? It's not about the support. It's about a learning lesson, a lesson to learn more about oneself and one's priorities and one's security self-security in this world. Then after CGI, there came South Park and Flash and cutout animation. So hand-drawn animators had their faces rubbed in the dirt even more and were dismissed even more. And I'm not saying it's to say, well, now they get their revenge. No, I'm saying this to say that I got used to it. I got used to being sidelined. I got used to feeling unspecial. I got off my pedestal and realized that it's not what other people think I can do that makes me special. I used to go around doubting that I'd worked for, Universal Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Disney Junior. I mean, people would just meet me and that would just vomit out of my mouth as if, in their faces, and then it became in my face that nobody gives a shit. And I'm glad that happened because I became a better person. I became to understand myself more about what I really want to do, about how I'm really going to improve, about what are the things that are actually matter to me. Am I still going to do this? Well, here I am, after Toy Story, 1995 or 1996, is it? Still doing it, still as the primary way to support my family and live on this earth, doing hand-drawn animation. Nothing has stood in my way. No one, no thing, nothing. The only thing that was fear of other people winning, fear of other people doing things, and fear of feeling inferior. That's the only thing that stood in my way. And do I still have those things? Yes. That's what all human beings have, and that's how we have to live in this world. But I'm wiser for it. So when I see AI coming, and AI doing this, and AI doing that, I predicted this. Some of you know that I said that when the Snapchat filters came, I said there was going to be 5-year-olds creating Pixar quality work with their Snapchat filters one day. You know what? But I've had it over and over again. And I don't care because it's not going to change what I do. I'm never going to stop drawing. I'm never going to stop because I love the process. Other people don't love the process. And AI closes the gap for those people. But what it is people moaning about AI right now. They subconsciously perhaps feel superior or special because of their process. They're in love with the process. You know what? It's okay to be in love with the process. But you're just going to hurt yourself and hurt the growth of your process. And you're going to hurt your work by moaning about something that's not going to go away and something that is actually, if you just get out of your own ego and your own way, has liberated you. Yes, you're going to say, well, how it's taken my job and I'm not comfortable anymore. Yeah, I understand. I've been through that. You guys did it with your CGI to me as a hand-drawn animator. I contemplated being a cage fighter at one point. So, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're only harming yourself. Who's my favorite movie director? I've got too many to do different things. I like Sergio Leone. I like Ridley Scott. I like David Lean. I like Jim Henson. I like, there's so many that just don't come to mind at the moment. Right. So now let's do this this profile view. So that's why I'm still here doing what I'm doing. Still talking about real animator training because because I know that when the dust settles, that there's still going to be people out there, just like myself. You know, there's Charlene in the chat, there's Frilled Mayfly, there's Kevin Silver, there's Zedpo by the looks of it. So many people in the chat who absolutely love the process of drawing and animating, right? And I don't see them anytime soon wanting to quit just because AI is here, right? Doesn't matter. So we're going to bring a few construction things into mind here. Notice how my neck width more or less stays the same. And this is why I'm, you know, somebody asked me about the Picasso thing. I'm relying heavily on the Picasso concepts of cubism to create this illusion, right? That this is a profile view. Now I'm going to do that cheek thing. Remember the zygomatic? It comes like this, right? So that cheek shape is really going to help me. It's probably going to be a little bit under the eye. That cheek line there is going to help me with that. So now we're going to bring this a little bit more to the forefront, right? But we're keeping it within the line, right? Before he would have his bandana and it would be so much easier to draw him, right? But I've got to figure out this. So we're going to have the bump of the ear probably move this way, right? I'm going to rough in that little bit of the hairstyle. Like that. Now I have to think about this side bit of the hairstyle. And possibly more bits of hair coming around the ear, which I will figure out. And this profile is helping me really consolidate the front view, right? What's good about it, what's bad about it. It's giving me a better idea of his hairstyle from the side so I can go back and revise it, right? So I've got this here. Now what I'm going to think about this ear, right? Maybe we'll cheat and we'll see a little bit of this ear on the side. Sometimes in CG from the perfect side, you will obscure that. That will be obscured, right? So now here, I may just square off the side of him like that, right? So this is where we're kind of covering the occipital and we're doing a cheat. So we're doing a cheat with his hair, with his cheek is just, so that's going to really help the animated head turn, right? His cheek hair is just going to go like that. And that's going to make the character turn work. I'm going to bring in his nose just a little bit because it's a little too much on the protruding side. Let's keep the bulge like that. Now the mouth is looking a bit strange there, so we need to bring it in a little bit. Too many lines, too fat. I'm going to have to clean that up to make that work. Okay. That's looking good, right? That's looking good. Let's see how we did in inverse. Much better in inverse on this side. So I'm going to consolidate this one. Hey, Daniel Garcia, good to see you, my friend. Nice to see you in the chat. Haven't had you online for a while. I've been practicing drawing fundamentals constantly and can make convincing looking people from imagination, but still fail to be able to draw from light and get likeness. Again, you need to again, try doing your drawing without looking at the page. Try drawing in one line and stop relying on what you know and look at what you see. I'm just making this up, right? But imagine if you're looking like I'm trying to look at my face in the chat, right? So imagine, again, 7 days, just keep drawing like that. It's just working muscles. Learn to see. Learn to see instead of using formula, right? Today I'm showing you formula, but I'm also explaining to you what is not so good about formula, right? Let's this eyebrow in here. So now the nose, the mouth, that's it. So we want the mouth to come down, but we need to kind of indicate a little bit of the side of the mouth there to give him his... Now this eye on the side may need to go back a bit, right? I may have put it a little bit too far forward. It might need to go here, right? Which is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a side thing in here like this. I'm going to move that just a little bit to this side. That's better. See, that little thing falls into place because this little area of the nose is very important. It gives this character the identity. So here, the side view, what's great is like the side view is actually looking better than the front view, right? And that is good news because the side views are often angles that people struggle with, right? So if you get a good side view of your character, then you're onto a winner. Maybe I can give him a little bit of a curl out here, right? Play with that. Just separate it. Maybe the curl's a bit too much. Just separate it. And go here. I'm confident that this works, so I'm gonna rotate it. Now, before I jump in and do the 3/4, I'm gonna have another go at the front view, right? Because I feel that the side view has taught me a little bit more about the characters, right? Maybe this should be a little bit lower. This tuft of hair at the top is very important because it will help the ears, right? Because the ears are the challenging part. I will start drawing that. Thank you so much. Hello to you. A cage fighter. You know, I hated... That was also another part of my life that was being flipped over, the traditional art, and I liked traditional martial arts, and everybody was calling that useless, because the marketing of cage fighting. So those were the only two things that I had spent my life doing, learning martial arts and learning drawing and animation. So I was trying to contemplate, how am I going to survive when CG came out, right? I actually learned CG and became a CG animator for a little while and hated it so much that that's when I wanted to, was thinking about the cage, right? I'm so glad I didn't do that, because I actually despise UFC. I never watch it. It doesn't interest me at all. Right. We have the other eye. Let me just take this way and make sure. This is an area that I am often, one of the only things of my drawing, most of my drawing is always very well balanced, but the eye shape on one side or the other when I'm doing a perfect front shows that I still have some dyslexia going on there. Should be this way. We can fix that off stream. That'll do for now. Let's just put that more to that side. Okay, there we go. There we are, right. So the nose, let me put the light box on for the nose. Nose, I'm gonna flatten it just a little bit. Mouth. This comes here, this comes here. There we go. Now we want and of course, as soon as I start drawing him in this manner, I'm asking myself all kind of questions, like I've drawn him in my sketchbook and the design that I figured out was so much more appealing than this, right? And then those little frustrations that are coming to mind are very natural, but you should not let them inhibit you in a process like this, because this is, exploration of where, you can't keep the character constantly as an illustration in the sketchbook that's going to keep changing all the time, right? When you want to bring him to life via hand-drawn animation, you're going to have to find a way to explore his form, so that let me just focus on this. You're going to have to find a way to explore his form so that when you start drawing him, he will change again as you get more comfortable with your design. But when you start drawing the design and animating the design, the know-how, the subconscious know-how of keeping him consistent is there, right? So it then doesn't become doesn't even become a thought, right? You're literally instinctually, like the way that you brush your teeth, get dressed, shower, the way you instinctually draw the character that you're creating will then it'll just happen. Of course, if you're constantly exploring the design and changing it and you've never settled on one, then chances are that it's never going to go anywhere, right? This character, I have constantly changed the design, but I've only constantly changed it when I felt that I've grown as an artist, right? Whenever I draw this character, some of you know that I've designed this character. I reapproach this character every time I feel, okay, now I feel I've made significant growth in my ability. Am I ready to get what's in my head on the page with this character, right? Presently, I'm still not able to do that, right? Which is why I have these other characters that I play around. This project is something that I'm, I may have put on a too high pedestal that I have some fear of doing, because I've got this vision and I don't want to let it down, right? Whereas the other projects are more like, okay, well, who cares, right? So every time I level up, I feel I've leveled up, I make an exploration with this character. This eye is a little too flat. That's not really his eye shape. I'm just going to make one change on the eyes because they're not the character's eyes. They're too Disney-esque. The new kind of style eyes I do are more these diamond shaped eyes. They're very flat. There his eyes. That feels more like the character. Of course, the profile's a bit off, but I feel I'm done enough to move on to 3/4 view. All right, now, very quickly, just to keep it real, okay? How far are we in the stream? We are 1 hour, almost 2 hours in the stream. Now, we've done a lot of talking, but 2 hours. I did a 3-hour stream in the last live stream, and I took an already designed character and I produced a feature level piece of animation with him from just 3 images on Google search, right? And you can watch that stream, though this is in between and I've shaded his hair in and added some leaves. It's pretty much was drawn and animated perfectly on the stream, and it's this clean, right? But here you've seen me kind of and about these 2 drawings, right? So there's a huge difference when you're working on your own thing and you're trying to solve problems in a design, rather than when all those problems have been solved for you and you can start working with an already finished design, right? So now we're going to do the middle pose, right? So the middle pose is going to sit somewhere between here and here, right? I'm going to put his middle line here. His eyes are going to go along. I'm not trying to get them completely lined up and perfect at this stage, right? So then this thing is going to hang off the bottom. The nose will be somewhat here. So here I'm kind of feeling my way using the light box for measuring points, but then once those measuring points have been figured out, now I'm going to do the whole, like we've got the side of the head, right? The Glen Keane side of the head thing, but we're going to do the zygomatic arch here, right? which is going to kind of help me figure out this portion, which then comes to the side of the nose. Then the occipital portion of the head, right? So I'm kind of making everything measure up. But that's about it. Now I've got to sort these ears out, right? So this ear barely moves, right? This could pose a problem to me, right, with that. So this will have to be halfway or 1/3 of the way by the looks of it. So the ears will very much involve a lot of kind of snapping on thirds and cheating to get them right, right? So I know that for the moment that this shape has to exist here. And I can put that on a half while the other one's on a third, right? The hair is going to go in there like this. The mid hairline is going to go here like this. Right. So here you can kind of see the cubism going on. A little bit of cubism going on, right? I'm going to put a hair mask and then eliminate that. That will help. See, that will help the front view as well, right? If I'd done that, we can already see the front view getting better. But I'm not going to go back and change the front view just yet, because I'm solving problems right now. I'm asking questions and solving problems. That's what we need to do, right? So I'm not so much going to use the profile at this stage. I'm just going to use the front view, right? And then again, what I'm doing with these eyes and the face, it may make me go back and change the front view again, right? That is very bad. Like that. This would go like that. And we'd have a mouth there. See, look, the 3/4 is oozing appeal now, and I'm kind of happy about that. And it's coming a lot easier because I've got the front view and the side view to work with, right? I've got some form of reference to work with. Now, here's where things will get interesting. You see, if you rewind this video, you'll see a kind of illustration drawing that I did of the character from a 3/4 view. And I guarantee you that it probably looks a lot more appealing than this one, right? But as I said, in my Real Animator Training lecture, where I talk you through how to turn a character perfectly in 3/4, right? That will never end up being the finished animation design, right? Because I'm focusing too much on the trying to really create a very convincing illusion that this is a real 3D kind of character. But CG will do that a lot better, and AI will do that a lot better than I can, right? Some people might say, well, he did it all by hand and that's so special and cool. But ultimately, what gives hand-drawn animation the appeal over its CG brethren, in my opinion, is the fact that we can kind of break the rules a little bit. We can kind of go like cheat and pop things into place, a la Mickey Mouse ears and all that kind of stuff, and it looks great, right? And it's part of the illusion. So why go through the trouble of doing this? Again, remember how I told you to draw that skull and write all the body parts for 7 days? It basically is a form of exploration. Because if I'm honest with you, I can say, this is my character. But I don't know. I don't know what he'll look like. I really don't know properly. I can draw him and he'll look cool from a certain angle. But if I try to draw him without his bandana, with his ears, and ears not tied up, and I try to imagine that from all the various angles, I don't know. I have to be honest with myself. I don't know how to do it. So I've got to teach myself how to do it. And I have to be mentally okay with that, right? Which means I can't allow the fact of not knowing frustrate me. Or I can't allow the fact of it not looking right when I've drawn it so much more appealing other times in other ways frustrate me to stop doing it, right? Often the reason we stop doing things is we're a witness. The real you is a witness to your own actions, right? Everything you see, even in your mind's eye, your imagination, you're a witness to it. You may see this symbol in some things, what people like to call out. These are the 3 dimensions, and you're a witness to it all, right? So basically, you're a witness to the unfolding. And if you identify with the concept of I, as in the ego, the outer you, that I should be able to do this, or I don't know why I can't get it right. You're kind of like losing sight of who you really are, as in the witness to the process. And if you allow yourself to just remain as witness to the process, everything will happen much easier. And things will be move forward a lot smoother for you, right? So now we have this one here, which is all right. Now, I can tell you that design-wise, as I've been drawing this, he's not strictly correct, right? Because he's got a bigger foremouth. If I go and do my appealing version of him from my sketchbook, right, where there's personality in the face and I'm a lot more relaxed about the flatness of his nose because it doesn't, right? This is a lot longer, this foremouth, right? And it's, the cartoon comes in and he's a lot more appealing, right? So this and this are, you know, I'd much rather draw and animate this, right? That's what I'd much rather draw and animate. But in order to do this better, I'm going through this process, right? To learn more about, now I can feel good about drawing his ears, right? I can go away and make a nice cartoon design of this guy. I couldn't do that when I started the stream. I can go away. That's really good. That I can actually bring the ear back, right? Right. Maybe have a bit of fur off there like that. Maybe put a bit of. That's really good, right? Now I know that he's got a tuft of hair here. So this will all be discarded, right? As I get more cartoony, in my approach, right? And then I can go back to being flat, willfully flat, because that's the beauty of my medium, right? But all of this will help this, because I'm working from the standpoint of life. Like it's almost like I'm creating a realer version of him, so I can simplify him for appeal, right? I'm not saying that this is the go-to process for you, that you must do it this way, but I'm sharing with you a way that has really helped me, rather than try to build, sculptures. I found, because the whole anatomy business, right? Working from anatomy, doing things that are anatomically correct, and then caricaturing anatomy. Again, I'll give you another example. If I'm going to draw some legs, right, I might just do this, right? But then, okay, and then we'll draw an up angle here like this, right? But then, because I understand, right, what happens here, right, is you simply have a patella tendon, and you can just treat that up muscle and this as one line going along here. Then you have another muscle along the side, a muscle underneath, right? A big, thick muscle out here like this, right? Like that. Then on hair, you have another muscle going in here like this, right? You have the glutes coming around the back here like this, right? And then you have another muscle coming on here like this. Then here you have abductors, right? So again, here's the abductor muscle coming from here, the glute connecting to that, the squash and stretch. So all of that sits on there. And when I designed this guy's arms, right, so I can take his rib cage, right, and I can do him like making a fist, right, like this. But now I can really play. I can say, well, he's got huge shoulders, right, but he's lean, he's got a little chest, and ripped, like I've given him this Bruce Lee physique. So he's got his muscle, his tricep. So look how I'm kind of taking that muscular information, right, but I'm able to really exaggerate. So under here will be the tensed bicep, right, but then we'll play that against the thin under armpit, right, and then we'll give him a clenched forearm like this. So I can so confidently draw these shapes because I know what they represent, right? The external oblique will come here, the pelvic wall, right? Then from here, like let's give him this stance. Right? So again, here, right, we just do two little pipes like that, right? Two little pipes like that. But I can immediately, right? Immediately, through the exaggeration of what I really understand is underneath the anatomy, we can immediately make those shapes something. You can just get rid of the oblique there and keep the oblique here, right? Can immediately make those shapes something, right? And then I can say, well, he's a rabbit, so he can have huge feet, right? Now I can already, just through doing that little bit of play, I can start putting life and expression into the character, right? So this exploration is extremely important. It's not something that my animation teacher says there's always a solution in 2D animation. He's absolutely right. Is there an art to asking and solving problems during the process? Yes. Because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm solving the problem of what my character looks like without his ears during this process. This process, the point is these drawings are going to be thrown away. They're useless as something for my portfolio. They might go in an art off book that I explored a more realistic looking groundhopper design, but he's no way going to look like this, because to me it's ugly for what the look that I'm going for. Some people might not find it ugly. They might like the more realistic approach, right? But for me, I don't, right? Maybe some people who are into comic books might prefer that look, but that's not me. It's not how I want to express my art, right? But whenever I'm trying to solve problems and I don't know the answer, I always go to a more realistic mode, because for me, being able to cartoon is a skill. Not everybody can do it, right? But I believe that the first step to being able to really cartoon well is to understand reality, to understand the things that are being caricatured. So you can caricature to a higher degree, right? So how are we doing for time? Okay, not too bad. We got enough time to finish the rotation, right? We want to do this rotation. So the work that you're seeing me doing at the moment is the process, but it's not the answer, right? It is part of the process of arriving at the answer, right? So don't look for the answer too soon, which is one of the things that I feel stops people from achieving their goals, dreams, desires, and ambitions. Is you're looking, and Zedpo, I believe this could be you. You're too busy looking for the final answer, rather than nourishing yourself with the process of exploring the answer. All right, so we have got, presently we have got this, right? So that year term, yeah, it kind of works. OBS Studio disconnected. OBS connected. What has influenced the art Groundhopper? Disney style, Bluth variation of Disney style, anime, martial arts movies, martial artists, martial arts. If we're talking style, we're talking Robin Hood. We're talking Nim, Secret of Nim. We're talking Street Fighter. We're talking Bruce Lee, DKD, Taekwondo. Myself, 70s, 1970s TV show, Kung Fu, right? Video game, Street Fighter, the video game, The Legend of Prince Valiant. So many influences have influenced the Groundhopper. Those are some of the main influences. Right, so what I'm going to do is I am not going to I'm not so much going to do the other side, but I'm going to do one side. So I'm going to take his head hair, right? And I'm not going to be too precious about it. All right. I'm gonna put that there. Let me paste in the other one and make that blue. Okay, we need to be a little bit bigger. So we've inversed that. We've inversed that. Right. So now I'm going to do a back view, right? Somebody asked me about back view, right? So the back of the skull, you have the occipital bone and the parietal bones, right? So if you want to do the back of the skull and you want to do that for 7 days, and there's the jawbone, right? Where maybe you'll see some of the temple bone and the zygomatic arch, right? With the parietal bones at the side. But I'm not gonna, I think you should just focus on the front if you want to do that. So this is complicating things, right? So we need to know what the back of a skull looks like first. See you, Milfrill Mayfly. Bye-bye. Let me just see a few more comments in here. Would you recommend this for a portfolio? Yes, if you're going to do it, if you're going to come up with a finished one, not an exploratory one, it would be nice. Are head turnarounds a must? Depends what for. What's your goal? Are you trying to get a job? I don't want to talk much about getting a job because the industry is changing, and I was in the industry for 20 years, and to be honest, I'm at my best when I left it. Now, I did learn a lot from it, so that's a kind of a loaded statement that can be deceptive, as if I just became better from leaving it. But I believe they're a must if you want to be a better artist. I believe they're a must if you want to actually be good at what you do. So yes, they're a must from that point of view. And since that's what my channel's about, real animator training, being the best artist and animator you could possibly be, then they are a must. Martial arts and animation, I know you made some good fight scenes. Actually, no, because I haven't. Well, I did in the industry. I did a lot of action. They weren't necessarily martial arts based, but I had an eye for action. But no, because I actually, with the animation, wanting to do really good animation, fight scenes is more about choreography and direction. The animation in them is all right. It just does its job. But expressing emotion, I mean, even Bruce Lee, the best for me, would always talk about emotional content. So real challenge of an animator to really challenge oneself. I don't want to pick on I believe, the quite juvenile taste for anime fight scenes. I like them too. They're exciting, but what makes them exciting is the editing, the composition, the shot choices. They're quick, so simple turning camera moves are not that hard to do around a still character. I've demonstrated them many times. What really is difficult for the animator to really flex his muscles is to do the boring stuff, is to animate the mundane, but to put life and performance and personality into it. So actually, no, I haven't actually animated that many fight scenes, because when I do, that will be leaning more towards my filmmaking storyboarding strengths, which I have. I've also been a head of story in the film industry when I worked. I was a head of story, and I've been a storyboard artist for Universal Pictures and 20th Century Fox and blah, 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 blah. So I have those skills, and those are the skills that I would be drawing on more to make a good fight scene, as opposed to actual animation skills. You need good animation skills to pull it off, but it's not the most challenging thing. It's far harder to come up with the fight scene and come up with the engaging angles and storytelling aspect of the fight. If somebody grabs, I would like, being a martial artist, if I was to direct a fight, I would like to show the actual arts rather than just the blows and the blocks. I would, at one particular point, if somebody was to grab somebody to throw, I would have the hands pulling on the cloth so that the audience feels the pull, and I'd have a head jog and you'd see eyes open. Then I would cut to a foot hitting the chest and then lying on his back and then being thrown extravagantly with the camera move and all that flashy animation bit. But it's those intense little moments that brings you into there, that the audience almost feels the blow and feels the impact, rather than just constant eye candy of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, doing a good fight scene, don't get me wrong, that's actually very challenging, but the animation aspect of it, not so much compared to the mundane things. Right. Now I'm gonna kind of figure out the back of his head. So his ears are gonna be here. Right, so this is kind of like my silhouette shape to work with. I'll just put an idea where his jaw is and where his face is, even though I don't really need to see, we won't be seeing that. It's important for me to, now his ears, we'll be seeing the back. Okay, now I'm gonna remove that, right? Because that's kind of like controlling me a little bit too much, right? So let's just turn on the light box. And so now what I want to establish is his occipital bone, right? Where his trapezius will come, right? And his skull, right? So I'm gonna kind of like indicate hair coming around there, because that's how we're gonna sell this, right? Then obviously his ears are more to the back, right? So this hairstyle, maybe it'll come in there like that, right? So just that little bit of anatomy has made things incredibly easier for me, you see? I can come here and just hint at things, right? Now I've got potentially what his ears will look like. See, with this is like, for me, like creating a realistic version of my character to caricature the hell out of, to create a great design from, right? That's what I want to do with this particular piece of work. I want to, that's what we're doing. So while this video, I've disclosed to you a lot of tips on how to be good at drawing the human head and the human form, and I have indeed revealed to you how we keep consistency in a design by using those construction elements. I've also been kind of multitasking and doing something which I need to do if I was streaming or not to get a good design, because although this work that I'm doing is work that I'm going to discard and I don't actually like this variation of the design, it's very important for me to mentally see it like this so that I can caricature it better, right? That's my way of doing things, right? Because guessing what it's going to look like, I'm gonna eliminate that. It's making it look like his head is getting low. Right, now we need to do a rear 3/4, right? So I'm gonna go and do that. Thank you, Pedro. Great to have you online. It's quite funny. The more we study bones and the body of animation, the more we learn about ourselves. Exactly. There's a new one called Kelchi I have yet to see. Why is animating the mundane so much harder than a fight scene? I don't get it. Because how would you put a jacket on that's unique to you? Right? How would you remember something and convey to the audience that you've just realized you're in big trouble without using really boring, overused, generic expressions and poses, which is what anime does? I'm not picking on anime, but anime really doesn't do that very well. And they, and people who get into animation just see a lot of fast zoom things like this, of slowing in and slowing out of certain poses, and things getting big and things getting small, and it's like being on a roller coaster, and you think that's so great. It really is not very hard to do. People look at Belle and the Beast dancing in the ballroom and say, wow, oh my God, they've drawn them from all angles, it's so magnificent. Once you get to a certain level, it's very simple technicalities. The real skill of animating is what it's termed the illusion of life. Real life. Real life. It's hard for today's generation, what is it called, Gen Z, to actually fully understand this. And millennials struggle as well. And now I'm pushing 50. So the thing is, I'm a Gen Xer, I'm not a boomer, unfortunately. The thing is, when you've been living in an environment where attention spans have become so small that people are doing big things to get in your face, and your brain has become accustomed to only noticing that, and you're bored too easily and too quickly, you're not, this is I'm just referring to a great Nobel Prize winning book called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. You're not actually using your full potential. These things literally have shortened people's brain spans. And AI will do the same, going to ChatGPT for the immediate answer and not trusting, not exploring yourself. So this stream has also been philosophically about exploration. So to really explore what is one's humanness, particularly in the world of AI, this is how hand-drawn animators are going to be better than AI. And we always are. Because AI doesn't know what it's like to live in a human body. AI can guess. It's like the film Good Will Hunting, when the professor puts him in his place. You can read all the information, or you can, about being in another country, you can learn to speak the language and show off that you're an expert of that country. But if you've never visited the country, if you've never really inhaled that culture since birth, it's not the same. So AI can draw from all these references and pull this and pull that, but it doesn't know what it feels like to clench a fist in anger. It doesn't know what it feels like to tremble a cheek when a memory has come all of a sudden. It doesn't know what the tear, is it warm, is it cold, has it poured from the outer side of the eye or the tear duct? It doesn't know what it feels like. And when we animate, when we act, we want to touch the human soul. And a quick little fight scene with a girl somersaulting, a hot girl somersaulting, and you just might see a little bit of the camel toe through the undies, is not going to do that. But a lot of people think that that's the most amazing animation ever, and it's so good. And this is the early stage. I'm not poo-pooing those people, but a lot of those people will never really get past that, and they'll play with animation and then they'll move on in life. But those people who like that stuff, that then say, I want to be good at animation, and realize after a while that that stuff ain't that hard to do when they train for real, will want more. They will want to really be good and really understand what good animation is. It's like somebody asked me, why is Picasso so great? I don't get it. I look at his artwork and I don't get it. It's not that he couldn't do that stuff. He could do it very well when he was younger than any of us. He wanted to be a real artist, not a craftsperson who simply could do something that the camera could do a whole lot better. So that's why being able to animate the mundane is so much harder than doing the exciting, because the exciting is already defined as exciting, and the mundane is already defined as mundane. But when the mundane relates to the soul in such a way, then those quiet moments are what gives meaning. So if the person before the calm, before the storm, so say there was an amazing fight scene, but you had a scene before where he was just sitting down contemplating, and he did a few things, and a few subtle movements really were salty. Maybe he heard a voice in his mind, and he closed his eyes and he laughed and he shook his head, and then he became angry, brought his fist to his face, trembled in and punched the air, and then suddenly you cut back to him punching, beating this guy's head, bringing it up, banging it down. The second thing only meant something because of the first. Without that, it's just the same old, I'm gonna kill you. So it's all about being able to put substance into the things which most people are unable to. So hopefully I've been pretty clear about that. Right, let's get on to this midway the rear three-quarter rather. So I'm gonna now think of the occipital bone and the temporal bone and the mandible jaw. Very much like a man here, the trapezius. So this profile is amazing because we can immediately go in and out of the profile with the same silhouette almost, save for the nose on this side. So here we're gonna introduce this. So the rear 3/4 could be really boring unless we really work at making this. We need to change this angle somewhat. I'm going to use less hair here. Probably just a little bit at the bottom. See, now the ear is what's going to do it, right? So again, this ear I will put halfway, and the other ear I will put on a third. So the technical solving of the animation aspect is a non-issue, right? Once you learn these skills. But what becomes the difficult thing is the design aspect, right? And some of these things are absolute cheats, right? Because this tuft of hair will remain pretty much where the profile is, and it's no way there on the side of his head there, right? So it's a designery cheat. But what's good is with this particular design, I'm able to create a realistic, more realistic version of him. And it's being sold as if, yes, that's plausible, right? I can see that actually works. Now, I'm gonna lower these now. Introduce that shape just a little bit more like that. I might bulge that out all the more. Right? Make that more interesting. Now that side view will come up like that. Okay, that I feel is working. This will not be so indented. We'll have a little bit of fur there. Okay, right, time to tidy this up. Do you think there are any differences for animating for a game? Absolutely. Games, you have to, if it's not a cutscene, you have to have cycles and loops, and each one has to go back to a resting position. Animating for a game is far more limiting than animating for a real animation for a story. Game animation again is very much also you although you can explore character identity, and it's quite challenging to do it with the few options you're given to make the character move, with his little kind of parameters that he can move for the player to get him from A to B. You can do it, but your choices are a lot less. You know, that you're not given spontaneity, a certain amount of time. In a scene, you're given a certain amount of time, so you're limited by the time that you're given in the scene. But when animating in the game, you're limited by the frame rates of your character's movement to be able to pull off certain mechanics. I mean, in games like I'm an amateur Street Fighter player. I'm not that great at it, but the frame count really works for you to time your counters and all that. So it's different. You can't really have as full-on animation as you can. A lot of people see fluid movement and think that's good animation. That's just fluid movement. It doesn't mean it's good animation. Real animation, which is what I teach, is not about just simply fluid movement. Fluid movement is not good animation. It's fluid movement. I'm going to say it again. It might feel nice and flowy, but that doesn't mean it's good animation. That hair thing was my idea to lower that, but I'm not liking that. So I will that's better. We'll just have to grow into it. Okay, so we have got the character's head turn from a more realistic perspective figured out, right? And if I want to, I don't really, it won't necessarily work that well because the design is not symmetrical completely, but I can take this, and I can inverse it, make it the same size. Edit gut, and I can put this here, edit paste, and then I can take this one and inverse it. See, put him, have him line up like that. Edit gut, edit paste. Okay, now we just need to do a little bit of movement here. Put that down a bit there. Now we will take this, edit gut, oopsie, edit copy, edit paste, and we'll get this one, edit copy, paste, and we will shift him over to the side. Yeah, edit gut, edit paste. I think that's in the right place. Yeah, it's close enough. Right. So, hey, Repro, baby, how are you? Fluid animation is not good animation. No. It's just fluid movement. Fluid animation doesn't mean it's good. If the animation has no, AI will give you amazing fluid animation. You can look at a load of cutout animation that's just unnaturally sliding. Fluid means fluid, just means fluid. Something that's fluid doesn't mean it's good animation. Good animation is, how does it make you feel? How do you feel the weight? There are 12 laws to animation. Let's go through them. Timing. What's the timing like? Is the timing good? That's got nothing to do with fluidity, right? Slowing. You're asking way too many questions, my friend. I'm happy to answer them, but are you taking in the answers, right? Timing. What's the timing like? Slowing in and slowing out. That basically means how much weight is there in your animation, right? What's the weight like? Arcing. Okay? What's the motion path, right? Now, something can move fluidly, but not along a very good motion path. Something can move fluidly, but have no real good timing to it, or express no weight, right? Pose to pose and straight ahead, right? Can we see the poses that are in this fluid piece of animation? Can we see the definite poses that define the motion, or is it just mush, fluid mush, right? Follow through, overlap, and drag. It's fluid, but again, the follow through, overlap, and drag has to have its own timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out, weight to it too. Or is it just all fluidly moving at the even same time, right? Solid drawing. It's fluid, but is it solid? Does it keep form? Does it keep volume? No. So those are the 6 laws of movement. So fluid animation isn't even necessarily good movement, right? And real animation, we break it down. In the basics, you learn 6 laws of movement. Then you move on to 6 laws of life in the intermediate stage. So let's approach the fluid animation thing again. Squash and stretch. Does it have squash and stretch? If it does, what's the timing, slowing in and slowing out of the squash and stretch? Okay, what's the exaggeration and appeal? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Just because it's fluid doesn't mean it has that, right? Then we've got anticipation. Okay, does the fluid animation anticipate? Re-anticipate. If it does, it needs timing to do that. Where is that in the animation? Right? Fluid. These are just buzzwords on the internet by the animation bros, I call them. They don't know jack shit, but they like to spread things, and it travels over the internet, and everybody else wants to feel like they know too because they're insecure. So yeah, fluid, man, fluid. No, you can go take a piss and that'll be fluid, right? You've got primary and secondary action. Oh, anime doesn't really know much about that, right? A lot of it. A lot of the anime fanboys, though. There are some amazing Japanese animators. I'm not rubbishing them. But the anime they like, and the reason they like it, it's void of any primary and secondary action. Right? Void. Especially the fight scenes. Void of any primary and secondary action. Right? Primary action is nuts and bolts stuff. Okay? I'm going to pick my nose. Okay? Secondary action is, how am I going to pick my nose? Oh, is anybody watching? No, nobody's watching. Maybe I just put my hand here. Maybe have a look at it. Show it to the audience a bit, right? That's secondary action. That's what makes animation good. You want to really know the thing, what makes animation good? You need all 12 laws. But if you can somehow connect to the soul of your audience, primary and secondary action is the one. But you need to be able to arc well, time well, slow in, slow out well, have good poses, yada, 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 to pull the illusion off, right? Which is why these 12 laws are so important. Then we've got exaggeration, okay? Is the fluid animation exaggerated enough? Don't think so. Maybe it's too exaggerated, but then it wouldn't be fluid. Crash Bandicoot, his name is Groundhopper, and Crash Bandicoot wouldn't even last a fraction of a second. Please. Okay, no, sorry. then you have appeal. Is the fluid animation appealing? Now it might be appealing to you. So you know, that one's a bit open-ended. But then we've got staging, okay? Which is what I was telling you about how to animate a good fight scene. It's the whole thing, the mise en scene, if you will. It's the whole planning of the thing, the storyboards, the shots. Well, there has to be some fluidity in that, but it's not just the fluidity that makes it work, right? Fluid, what does that word even mean, right? People use words, and then the words, there's a great book back in the day called Hung by the Tongue. I never read it, but I like the phrase, hung by the tongue. I can't find it. I want to read it. And it basically means that, like, it's a religious book, so it might, you know, it's not for everybody, but I'm not really interested in the religious aspect. It's more your word is your wand kind of thing. Like, you don't realize that the words you repeatedly use, whether loud and clear or silently to yourself, is self-programming. And everybody is self-programming themselves with so much misinformation about animation that you don't realize how much you're hurting yourself. You think, oh, it can't hurt if I watch this lame guy who can't really draw and animate, and he likes anime and I like anime too, so I'm going to watch. It can't really hurt my skills. I'll just enjoy watching. But you're absorbing all that information, all those words are coding, programming your subconscious brain. The more repeatedly you tell yourself those things, the more repeatedly that you're involuntarily going to believe them. I hate Rihanna songs, but I find myself bobbing my head to one that comes to mind because of the amount of time I've heard them in malls and clothing stores when I've taken my wife and daughter shopping. I still claim to hate those songs, yet I'll hear one and go, and then I'll catch myself doing it and go, what are you doing, man? Aren't you supposed to hate that shit? Because I am not so great as what I think I am, the little ego I am so easily programmed. You know? So please control the input that you are, you know, abusing your mind with if you really want to get good at animation. Slow down and really understand these 12 laws. It's like when I told you about how to get good at drawing the head, and I said, if you put your trust in me, you don't have to give me anything, you just do what I told you for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, however long it takes you, for 7 straight days, and you will think that some magic has happened. You won't believe the impact that something like that would have on you, particularly if you struggle with drawing heads and faces. Groundhopper would crash. Yeah, just to be clear, Repro baby, this is not a Groundhopper design that's going to be kept. This is an exploration of what he looks like without his ears. And he looks very kind of realistic here, right? And that's not the way I want to go with this design. But in order for me to caricature this, I need to really, really understand it as if I'm looking at a real physical creature, like a Howard the Duck kind of, or a live action Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of adaptation of him. If I'm going to really be able to figure out how to cartoon him properly, which I will do, and I'm slowly doing that in my Groundhopper book, my Groundhopper sketchbook. I mean, this book is really, really it's gonna be, let me So this sketchbook is where I've really been developing this guy's design over the years, right? And I'll leave the sketchbook for a year and then come back to it And you can see all these various, see, look, he looks so odd without his headband as I'm playing and trying to find ways to construct him and ways to draw him. So slowly, he's been unraveling himself to me, like, and I'm kind of like exploring various ideas of how, you know, and then in more comic book kind of style, also the environments of his thing, even exploring what it would be like if he was in a comic book character, right? Now, after doing that, I then hit upon this, where I started saying, you know what, this is a nice go-between that I'm actually liking. So I start really, like, this is the first drawing I did of him that I started really liking, that I'm thinking this is more the sort of way I want to go with him, right? Like this, where I'm feeling good about him. So the turnaround that we've actually done today is no way near that. But then I asked myself a question as I started doing this head turn here. I asked myself a question: what would he look like without his ears and without his clothes, so that I could understand his form? I need to solve his form on a next, because this is just an idea. But I thought, you know, his ears are a problem. I'm struggling to figure out what I'm going to do with the character's ears. I need to look at a real hare's ears, and I need to understand what he'd look like with his ears untied first, and perhaps when I tie his ears, it'll be even better, right? So today, I honestly thought that I was going to come on stream and I was going to do that amazing cartoony groundhopper design and just draw it for you with him without his ears. But it didn't happen like that, because I was lost about his ears. I needed to figure out his ears, and he ended up looking very kind of realistic, because there I am trying to figure out the ears. So going back to anatomy, going back to really exploring something, not getting ahead of myself, not trying to caricature it before I understand it, kind of thing. So that's kind of what we did today. No, don't. They'll probably, you know, if the groundhopper takes off, they might try and make a live action one. And, you know, as long as I'm on this earth, I'll never sell the rights for that. But who knows, when I'm not here, what they do to the groundhopper. Somebody may even try to AI him, you know, for that. Thank you, Charlene. Okay, very quickly, if you are interested in learning this stuff, what we did for real, in a real manageable, productive way, then somebody asked me about do I have a book? I do not have a book, but I have a training library. Go to ambanimation.com, click on Join the Real Animator Training Library. You'll be taken to this page with tons of information. If you click any of the Join Now, you will see that you can buy them in bundles. We have the Training Archive bundle and the Master Animator Training bundle, which is practically every archive bar one. I might actually throw in the other archive in there, actually. And we have got, or you can buy each archive individually. Now, we talked about those 12 laws. Watch these videos, learn more about what's in this place. In the advanced archive, so in today's lecture, as mentioned, you watched me talk about construction tips, how I can jump in and draw somebody else's character on model perfectly and animate it. You watch that all happen. And in this archive, we have this 5-part video on head rotation. Each video, but this video 1 hour 50 minutes, this video 50 minutes, this video 1 hour 18 minutes, this video 2 hours and 2 minutes, this video 1 hour and 42 minutes. Bear in mind there is no chat to the audience in these videos. These are all strictly training videos. No, so that's solid instruction on just how to do a head turn. Now in the next lecture we go even harder. We do a human turnaround of the human body in the same way, but that goes over 15 videos, and we learn how to simplify muscles and add them on top of our construction. And this is a 15-part lecture series, again with that's over 15 hours, again some of them being 1 hour 40 minutes, some of them being 1.5 hours, some of them being, you know, yeah, all being well over an hour. So that's in the advanced archive. There's plenty more in the advanced archive. So if you are a serious animator and you're seriously, you've explored many other avenues, as many people do, all roads for serious animators lead to real animator training. It's what I've noticed. I've had people from CalArts, Bluth University, all of the respectable places, Sheridan, people who've learned from Richard Williams' son, people who've worked for Disney. All roads lead to real animator training for the real artist. So if you consider yourself to be a real artist, a real animator, a serious learner, then real animator training is for you. Perhaps not at the moment. Perhaps maybe you want to dabble, you want to carry on practicing your anime drawing, you know, you want something a little bit easier. You might explore some other courses out there by some really good alternatives out there, experienced alternatives, I'll add. But when you're ready, when you feel that you've absorbed enough and you're ready to really start moving forward in actually learning how to animate properly and really systematically applying real technique to the skill, so you can then be liberated from technique. Was talking to Frilled Mayfly earlier. It's like she keeps looking for that one technique and to make herself better, to do all these things. And I explained to her, look, the key is to be liberated from the technique, and the way that you do that is to train your unconscious, to train your unconscious to be able to animate just like you would brush your teeth or get dressed. So every time I sit down to animate, the technique is unconsciously taken care of. I don't animate. It animates all by itself. So that's what real animator training does. Through the power of repetition, through the power of, you know, the laws, the 12 laws of animation, you're repeatedly doing those things over and over again for hours upon hours upon hours on end through these step-by-step follow-along videos. That's another thing. If there's no room to try and improvise here. You have to surrender your ego. Be free, be free. Liberate yourself from your ego. Put yourself into a master animator's hands and acquire those hands so that you may draw your way into freedom, and out of entrapment into freedom and into greater expression through your own work. So that is the Real Animator Training Library. Go sign up to that, if you will. No mic. Maybe it's just as well I had no mic. I just read Repro Baby's comment and it made me laugh, basically. I like how you did all that art for just one character in a whole book. Okay, yeah, there's actually more about that character, and I was studying hairs in order to design him, right? So it's not that I haven't looked at real hairs, right? and he has a tiger style opponent, and I studied some tigers too to do that. So it's all very important stuff. Um, Mike locked out early. No, I just need to turn the mic on when I change my scenes. OBS is default because that's what I use as my streamer. Doesn't have that. Makes me laugh every time AMB gets annoyed when I mention Crash Bandicoot. Look, I had a job animating Crash Bandicoot for the website of Naughty Dog or whoever made it, and they paid me very well. They paid me like, 350 English pounds a day. Not bad, right? So that was that was about 5 days worth of work, you know, animating various cycles for their website. I think I was still in my 20s then. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, I don't like the design, I have to say. All right, thank you very much for joining me on the stream. It's been a blast. If you feel I have helped you in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, and you would like to buy me a drink or take me for a meal to say thank you, you can do that virtually via the link in the description for a donation. Or if you would like to see more of my work, basically, because this is how, people like to say they hate AI. And, opinions are cheap, talk is weak. If you really want to, it doesn't have to be me, okay? So I'm not making this about donate to me, you weakling, right? But if you really want to support against AI, you don't need to be against it, but if you want to support the alternative to AI, which is real artists, then donate to them, whichever ones that make you happy, that make you say, I would like to see more from this person. I like to see what they're doing on Instagram. I like their page. You know what? I'm a fan of that artist. Because a lot of them are finding it hard right now because of AI, because as I mentioned earlier, some people are very, very afraid. I've told you there's no need to be afraid. If you know who you are and what you want to do, fear cannot get the better of you. But one thing that's good that ensures that we all keep the community alive is donations to artists that you admire. So if you appreciate my work in any way, shape, or form, whether I've helped you or whether you just like seeing Gracie Goodbear dancing the Thriller on Instagram and the updates of that, or waiting to see the next update on Groundhopper or Alphaman or any other project that I have, then please do consider helping me out with the donation. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. Now, remember as ever to keep it real. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Paper is always king. I've just read the comment, how often do you practice to have a sketchbook per character? The idea is not to practice, okay? The idea is to be unconditionally in love with what you do, so it isn't practice. So that's it. I've never looked at it as practice, but thank you. I appreciate you being impressed by that. But I've never actually looked at it as practice. Today was practice, I guess, because I was learning about the ears, and I guess you're right. This is all practice. But as I said, I love it so much that I never consider it to be practice. I'm actually starting. I've always said I'm not a painter. The little ego in me has always said I'm not a painter, but I've actually started doing some gouache painting. So, I bought this, I bought some gouaches, and I've started, obviously this one's in the process of being done. So I guess you could call it practice. But I guess with the painting, I consider it to be more practice because I actually find it very boring and I don't enjoy it. But I'm wanting to develop that skill because I know that it will reward me in being a better filmmaker and a better artist. Because though I understand shot composition through value and light and shade, my color could be better. Don't think much about color. So you should definitely do so, Cameron. You should definitely do so. So I've been practicing painting. So yeah, you're quite right. It is practice. You know what? It is practice. But I guess if you love it a lot, then it doesn't feel like practice. Although painting feels like practice to me. So at the moment, maybe one day, once my unconscious has gotten into it. But it's not as much fun as the headstand, right? All right. So I'll see you. Do your work, not just your work and no more. That little bit more for the lavishing sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear. And then from your very doubt and your very suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. Thank you so much for joining Alpha Proto. Thank you so much for joining me on the live stream. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Paper is king. You learn how to do it all on paper. You've never had to rely on a brush tool for thick and thin. You've never had to rely on free transform, rotate canvas, invert. That's what I said. AI people who have learned all this digital stuff are so afraid of AI because AI has exposed their weaknesses and they want to blame and point the finger. Take it as an opportunity to put down the tablet, pick up the sketchpad, and really get good. I still draw digitally because digitally is faster and economical, and I can get my work out there easier. But I have the skills to do it on paper. They were developed many years ago, and I still do it. That's my training. I can do pull-ups, push-ups, squats. I'm going to go for a run along the lake after this stream and practice some Taekwondo, but nobody's going to see that except for the people at the lake who just I run past. It's, that's practice, like my friend says. I don't show my paper drawings to people, but develop the skill, the real skill, the real feel for holding the stool. And then you'll find when you go onto glass and this, how easy this all is and how independent you are of all the crappy, messy tools of the software, which I just disregard completely. Introduce the paper and king line to us is us all with wild wave. Okay. On that, people keep talking, and I've gotta go. Isn't that the AMB guy? You know what? I'm actually glad they don't. You know what? I'm actually glad that there was only once in my life somebody knew who I was, and it was so sweet. Like I'm like, wow, like it really. I felt uncomfortable. They were like bustling to talk to me, and like I think they were in my daughter's uni, and they wanted my daughter to introduce me to them, and I could see them like doing that, and I just felt really uncomfortable, and I just thought it was the sweetest thing ever, and I just for the first time in my life, I said that all this celeb thing, it's kind of like it's so unnecessary, and it can be very damaging for the ego because it's very addictive, but also it shows that it shows the human connection between us all. We all want to aspire to something, but and I understand. I mean, I would have probably been like that about Bruce Lee, and I like to think I've matured enough that I won't be like that. But if the guy was resurrected and walking around and he didn't pass away, I probably would still be like that. So I don't know. I know that, it's not a big deal. We're all people. We all fart. We all shit. We all do whatever. So, um, but it was a very sweet moment, and thankfully I don't have to experience it all the time, especially in a quiet country like New Zealand. Um, okay. On that note, I will see you all on the next live stream. Thank you so much for joining me. Look after yourselves. Keep it real, and bye-bye.